Welcome to the Great Distraction.
What's up, everyone? This is The Great Distraction, and today the topic of discussion is owning pets. My name is Ben, and with me today are my co-host Thomas.
How's it going?
Rick.
Hey, buddy.
And Glenn.
Hello.
If these are your first time listening, welcome. We thank you for joining us. The Great Distraction is a podcast that focuses on a vast and random range of topics, and we hope that each episode leaves you with, if nothing else, something to ponder. Owning pets, owning animals. I think pretty much everybody can relate to this. And I really don't remember why we came up with this, decided to do this topic. But we have Thomas has a shop cat here, Elmer, and he's really, really cool. Most of the time I don't really care for cats too much, but this guy, he's a cool cat. And if you hang out, around here, he is. If you hang out around here, inevitably he will make you his slave because he will get you to open the door and let him out. 5 minutes later, let him back in.
His mission is to make you his bitch.
That is exactly what he wants of you, and you can see it every time he looks at you. And he'll come up and rub on you real quick and be like, "Hey, you heading towards a door anytime soon?"
Maybe you can grab that thing of snacks on the way.
Yeah, that's drop me a snack and open the door and let me go outside, and then come back in shortly after. So it's maybe that's how this came about. And we decided to do this. I don't know. So I started thinking, well, I don't own any pets myself. Thomas has some. Yes,
I have several.
Yes, several. Glenn, do you currently own any?
Not at present.
Not at the present. But
I don't consider it owning. We live.
We house.
Cohabitate.
We cohabitate.
Cohabitate.
That's how
I like it.
I don't like owning something. I don't own that dude.
I see.
He's his man.
I see. Rick, do you have any pets right now?
Not currently. I'm the only animal in the house.
That's right. That's always my problem, too, is like I'm animal enough for my home. I don't need to be cleaning up anything else more. But so I started thinking, well, what are some of the reasons that people own them? Or have them, rather. Like Thomas's term, we don't actually own these creatures. Sometimes they hang around, sometimes they leave, and then they no longer hang around there anymore, right?
We as humans have this notion that we like to perceive that we own things.
Yeah.
That we truly don't.
We're in control.
Yeah.
You're not in control of a dog. You can act like you are, and you might be pretty good most of the time.
Right. But it's just a delusion.
The minute you die, he's going to be chewing on you later. You'll be his food.
Maybe not the dog, but the cat definitely will be eating your face.
Yeah. Stop feeding a cat. You don't have a friend anymore. The dog, they'll starve to death to fucking be your buddy.
That says something. We'll get to that in a second. So we had kind of written out a list of things here, and I thought, well, that's kind of interesting to discuss right there, just in general. What are some of the reasons that the human beings, or maybe I should just say Americans, because I don't know if this applies to everybody. Maybe third world countries, they don't own animals for these same reasons, but
they taste good.
In third world countries, yes, I'm sure that they do keep animals because they taste good, and if it's alive and you're starving, it becomes something to put in a stew.
Food, man.
Well, the rest of the world sees animals way different than
yeah.
Americans. So we are the only culture that sees animals and uses animals the domestic level that we do at even close.
Yeah, we're even considering making. And other countries have already done this, giving basic human rights to dolphins. Right? Some animals.
What?
You haven't heard of this?
Nope.
Yeah, some countries have already given. Actually, quite a few have already given a list of basic human rights to dolphins because they're actually extremely intelligent, and because of that, they've and in an effort to protect them too. That's the other thing. And let's see if Elmer don't want to get on the mic. Glenn's holding Elmer here, seeing if he'll say anything on the mic. He won't.
He's looking into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear cats like Glenn.
Whoa. And okay, so I know quite a few people that actually have them as substitute for kids. They don't want to have children. So
They're way better than kids.
So, yeah. Well, they are like perma kids too.
I can walk away from Elmer for like a week, and he'll be like, "Where you been, man? All right, we can be buddies."
Yeah, but you
can't do that to your kid.
Yeah. This is true. As long as there's food left for him, I guess you can just leave him some kibbles and a clean litter box, and he's good for a while. I guess you can't do that for your children. So yeah, that's one substitute I was thinking of. And then another thing is, I think some people own animals because simply for the fact that they grew up with animals in their home, and it's just natural. They just can't imagine a life without animals in their house or around them.
I don't know. There's also a companionship there. You build a rapport with an animal, and it's a unique relationship.
Yeah, for sure. And that was another one I was thinking of too. Is that people just do it just straight up for companionship. I mean,
to have a buddy.
Yeah,
you know?
to have.
I mean, I know a lot of people that their animals are their best friends, and I can understand why. I mean, my animals are awesome. They're better than most of my friends.
You always have a built-in drinking buddy, I mean,
Right?
somebody who'll sit there and watch TV
There's
with
always
you.
somebody who'll crash and be like, "Yeah, man, fuck everything."
I'll crash on your couch with you.
And you know they don't complain when you put words in their mouth. So you can talk for them, and they don't say shit about it.
Or tape on their paws.
Definitely a good companion.
Yeah, and you guys have brought up another one while we were talking before this episode that I really liked, which was teaching young children responsibility. I forgot. Yeah, I had a little goldfish. I think I had a beta, actually, not a goldfish. But you got to put the fish flakes in there. You got to clean the tank. Or a bunny, or a gerbil, or a rat, mouse, whatever the hell. I mean, that is a great learning experience for children. I think it teaches a lot about different types of responsibility.
Yeah, that was one of my earliest chores as a child, was to help take care of the family dog. We kept German Shepherds for most of my life. We also had cats, and I experimented with fish, but it wasn't the same. Anyhow,
How did you experiment with fish?
I kept them temporarily.
Sushi teriyaki sauce. And then,
I'm thinking of him at a fish concert with a couple of hits.
I was sitting there thinking, man, see, Rick's been picking up shit his whole life.
Betas don't last very long.
They don't. Right?
No, because if you put two of them together, it's just too much entertainment.
Oh, that was a problem. I thought they just needed a friend. Fuck.
I thought they were just picky on the friends that they had.
Exactly. One guy's always being a dick.
Everyone I get's a magician. He makes the other one disappear.
But one of my earliest memories was that my brother and I we had a German Shepherd, and we had to make sure that she was fed twice a day, and then we had to clean up the mess in the yard after the dog. And I've always had kind of a weak stomach and not an affinity for shit.
Is that shit?
So part of the chore of cleaning up the dog poop was not my favorite part of the job. I also had a pretty weak stomach at the time. So my parents they enjoyed this pastime of watching my brother and I pick up the dog shit together. I would hold the paper bag open. Now, I was 4 years old at the time, so the paper bag is about the height of myself. So I'm dragging this paper bag around the yard, and my brother is shoveling the dog poop into the bag, and I'm leaning over my shoulder and vomiting.
Wow.
While my parents are laughing their asses off.
Hey, man, that's quality entertainment.
Exactly. And it taught me a lot of responsibility, and it's I'm not a poop guy.
Taught you how to scoop and hurl at the same time?
No, Scott was the scooper. I held the bag.
Oh.
And
puked.
He was the hurler.
Yeah, I was the entertainment.
The entertainment. Yeah, and and your brother.
Did your family just keep getting bigger dogs?
That's brutal. Okay, so I want to throw this one out there too, because I don't really understand you guys. Maybe you guys will come up with something maybe to help me understand this a little better. I don't really understand why some people own certain animals, two categories, but in one category in particular, I was thinking that maybe some people, maybe this plays into that's what they grew up with, that's what they're used to. But I was thinking maybe some people just generally like adding the stressor of a dependent to their life.
What category are we talking about?
Well, okay, so for example, I've known some people who own horses
Horses.
that do not ride them. And
Okay.
they're not being raised to be sent to the glue factory, and they're not racing them. They are just there in the backyard in a stable
Just to have.
to cost money,
Horses are a lot of work.
a lot of
They
work.
are, yeah.
So and it's something that you have to take care of all the time. So what is the intent on owning something? Okay, and that's a big something. But let's scale it back a little bit more. I've known many people over the course of my life who have cats that they cannot hold. Nobody can. They hide under the bed, they hide under the couch, they're very antisocial,
I can totally understand that.
but you keep it. Why?
Yeah.
And worse than that,
I can answer that
worse
one.
than okay, but worse than that, it's
got one too.
It's I got to get home, I got to feed the cat that I can't hold.
Well, you
again.
never really say that to a cat. That's pretty rare. Unless if you're saying that about a cat you own, that cat's got some sort of health issue.
Okay. Okay,
That's
so
more
go
of a
ahead.
dog. That's more of a dog thing.
You got a cat that that doesn't never come up. Why you keep
Oh yeah,
it?
because it's an awesome creature and it's a a cool animals to me are way better beings for this earth than we will ever be. I hold them in a hierarchy because they are better at nature than we are. They'll survive. We're going to kill each other, burn this place to the ground. It's all going to go at some point.
Even though a majority of the
animals are going to, animals in general, and they'll evolve into other things, but they will stay a constant of this earth. I feel like they're a better kingdom for this earth than we are as humans, if that's a way of saying it.
You feel that you feel that way, even though a majority of the animals that we domesticate wouldn't exist if it weren't for us.
That's not true.
We're controlling all kinds of things. I'm not mad at humans because we've taken a dog over a 9,000 year period or whatever it's been that we've been using it, or 50, maybe it was 50,000, I think, with dogs.
I don't know.
That we've. So what happened in the evolution of dogs from wolves was men started in caveman type things having, a connection with animals, and animals have been part of our existence way back, and the domestication of animals has been part of the human existence and part of the human progression. They've played a big part of it, as far as hunting, using them for things, survival,
work, all kinds of stuff.
all kinds of things. So
travel.
For me, that's how I look at animals. I'm like, they're a part of our world, and most animals to me are cool. There's animals that are wild that you should never touch. I'm not a fan of snakes. I don't think you should have a snake as a pet. I'm like, dude, that's a snake. Let him go be a snake.
I've had a bunch of snakes as pets.
Yeah, I know, and lots of people do, but it's just not for me. But there are other animals that fit or don't. But going back to the question of like, why do you keep one of those animals around that just you can't hold or you can't this or that?
You can hold snakes.
You can hold snakes, but I think he's talking more about like the cat you can't pick up.
I'm talking about the commonly owned animals, or maybe not so common, like in the case of the horse or an emu or something. I like, what in the world? That's
totally different than a cat you can't pick up, an emu.
No, but but it still plays into my question. It's just
I think there's a interest or a fascination with a particular species that people will form that
totally
they just
agree.
Want to care for that particular animal or be around it.
Totally agree. I know a lot of dog people like that. They love certain types of dogs. They're all about, that's
most people
one of the
only like
things
certain types of dogs.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
Big
like
dogs.
that with lots of other animals too. It's like snakes, different things, all kinds of things. Cats the same way. If you're a cat person, I've been around cats my whole life. I know the personalities of cats based on their traditional traits of their markings. That's, just because I've been around animals for so much, and I've had the experience of having several animals have had that sort of like marking or whatever and knowing that knowledge, and it's kind of been true.
Interesting.
So you can essentially predict their behavior by the markings on their coat, essentially?
I'm pretty good at it with animals,
personality?
not with dogs, with cats for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had dozens of cats through my family and me personally. I've always had a shop cat. I've rescued animals that I look at and go, man, you're not going to make it if somebody doesn't step in. And I feel like it's my duty to step in. I've got a cat that lives in our backyard named Slim. I found him here around the building 2 years ago. When I found him, his face would look like somebody burned the side of it. His paw was all ripped up and bleeding, and I was like, I can't just walk back in the shop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, I started working with him and kept him going. He lives in our backyard now, and he's very skittish. He really kind of only likes me. He went through hell. Who knows what got him to that point? I feel like I'm like, dude, you're a cool little creature, man. I'm gonna give you a shot because that's karma.
Yeah, one of my favorite pets that I've had was a squirrel.
Squirrel.
Squirrel! Its name was Road Rash. It fell out of its nest as a baby, cracked its face open on the pavement.
Oh.
So it busted its jaw. I mean, it was
Brutal.
So picked it up, nursed it back to health, and its teeth grew all crooked and funky from the misset break and all that. But it was
Damn.
one of the coolest animals.
How long did you have him?
A couple years.
Really?
Couple of
yeah.
years, holy shit! But was he like he got to stay outside somewhere on the property that you were on? So you kind of kind of gave him a spot where he was like, it's cool for me to be here,
Right. So
because it's a squirrel.
Right. So we kept him in the backyard. We had a eucalyptus tree in the back, and he just hung out there. And whenever I went out back, he'd run off the tree, climb right up my leg, and perch on my shoulder.
Wow.
Wow, that's
so
awesome.
When I was home and about, he just hung out with me.
Wow, that's nuts,
cool.
dude. I didn't know you could
That's nuts.
make friends with
Talking
squirrels
about
like
a squirrel.
that. Nuts. Pun intended. Awesome. That's crazy. Yeah, I did not know you could do that. There was reminds me of something now that I didn't think of before. In my neighborhood when I was I don't know, maybe 10 years old, somewhere around there, 11 years old, something like that. Somebody, we don't know who, had domesticated, I guess, probably a similar situation, fell out of the nest or something like that, a yellow-billed magpie, the black and white miner birds.
All right, so domestication is through breeding.
Okay,
Taming is
understood.
on an individual basis.
Okay, so then, yeah, I guess taming. It was still running around the neighborhood, flying around, doing whatever it did, right? So somebody had tamed one of these birds, and it was crazy to see one of these things. I mean, you see them all the time. Where we live, you see these ones all the time, and all the flying around, whatever. But when it would come up and it would try and like get in girls' hair, fly in their hair, like land on their head. One time I was sitting like cross-legged on the floor, and it had jumped up and on my lap or my leg or whatever, and I was like, this is freaking weird. I had no idea how it's crazy to see animals that you only see from a distance like that up close, and then you're like, wow, I had no idea. Your kind was so big, like it was way bigger than I expected, right?
That's what she said.
See, that is what she said. So okay, that get you, Rick?
Right in the funny bone.
Right. All right, so we already kind of touched on a bit, not that, but
That's later.
Touched on that. That's later.
It's date night.
Elmer's looking at us like, "What the hell are you guys laughing at?" The cats versus dogs. So I mean, I know that's a heated debate on the internet. It's a heated debate with a lot of people. But how do you guys feel about it?
Depends on your situation.
Depends on your situation.
I
Okay,
100% agree.
Expand on this.
Okay, so if you are in an apartment, for say,
Okay.
and you want a pet, a cat is a great option. It is small. It can exist inside a smaller space with a litter box and some regular attention.
Doesn't need to be taken outside and run everywhere.
Right.
Okay.
Lower energy.
Also lower maintenance too.
Totally.
You can leave your cat for like a week and they don't miss you. You leave your dog for a week and they're gonna fuck your house up looking for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, a dog's a pack animal. It needs that social structure, that connection. Leaving your dog at home is not how you want to handle a dog. It's
Like
I used to feel that every dog is really just looking for a human. Because I feel like most dogs I know, and there's exceptions like hunting dogs and other things like that, but everybody that I know that's a dog person that has domestic dogs, that dog is like their buddy. I mean, when they're home, that dog is giving you attention. Even it's following you, it's hanging around you, it's floating around. You go to the couch, it goes to the couch. You go out in the garage, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like it's kind of crazy. And obviously cats are not like that. But for me, I had a couple of dogs growing up, but it wasn't until recently that there's been a small dog introduced into my world. And he's a cool little buddy, and the personalities are really good. And, especially if you live alone and you have an animal that's upbeat, fun to play with, hang out with, and they can definitely be your buddy. I think dogs especially on the buddy side. So that's why I see a lot of people that live in downtown and stuff have dogs. I feel like they're like, a lot of these people kind of live alone or they have a small apartment or whatever, and they don't, they have a friend.
Yeah, that's why I've always kind of thought little dogs were kind of cool, because in those circumstances you can't have a big dog, and what if you
can't have a Great Dane rolling around in Midtown? Come on.
Yeah, what
shouldn't.
What if you had an apartment, and instead
Curb that thing
along the same lines of what Glenn was saying for the cat. But you're in this small space or whatever, but you can't fit a bigger dog, but you still want a dog. So then you have the option for all those medium to small dogs that can be in an apartment, and it's enough room for them to still run down the hallway, and that's because you'll get them out of breath, doing that, chasing the laser pointer or something.
Yeah, the cat dog debate for me is like, I do appreciate the companionship that you can get from a cat, but they're very independent. You're not going to get the same loyalty you would from a dog. But they are cool to have around, sometimes even for their independence. For myself, though, I prefer like medium, large-sized dogs. But currently, my wife and I, we don't have the time to give the dog the amount of attention that they deserve or they need to live a healthy life.
Yeah.
An animal. I prefer German Shepherds, and my wife prefers Hounds. They're fairly intelligent dogs, so they need a lot of attention. They need a lot of exercise.
They need a lot of stimulation.
Yeah, and they need mind games. Otherwise they get kind of crazy and it's a hard life for them.
Yeah, then you end up getting the neighbor with the dog stuck in the backyard that goes crazy barking all the damn time because the person won't pay any attention.
It's a tormented animal.
It's horrible.
Tormented
We have a
dog at
couple
that
of them in
point.
my neighborhood.
Yeah, and it's sad to see that, and it's like I've wanted to have a dog back. My last dog died when I was like 18, and I've wanted to replace him. I know that it's irresponsible for where I'm at at the time. But my main point on the cat versus dog thing for the dogs is that I have never heard anyone in conversation talk about their cats the way I've heard dog people talk about their dogs. Never. My most recent case in point here was I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast not that long ago, and he was interviewing Kevin Smith. He'd come back from his heart attack and was talking about his path back to losing a lot of weight and getting healthier. And the subject of their animals had come up. And both of these guys, I wouldn't say that they're both tough guys, but one definitely is and one wouldn't be considered a tough guy. But at one point in the show, both of them cried talking about a dog that they had in their life as an adult and when it was time for that dog to leave.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody cry about talking about putting down a cat or it.
Oh, I've had
getting
cats
old
I've cried
enough.
about,
Yeah.
I
But
totally have.
Okay, you've cried when it was time for the animal to go,
Yeah.
right? But when you're thinking about it now and talking about it, it's like these guys like welled up and they're
Yeah.
professional talkers.
Yeah.
And
Well, they're
they
also
couldn't-
putting on a show that they want to keep listeners.
I don't think either of those guys have to try.
So if Thomas starts welling up over here and you start hearing him cry on the mic, dude, you know what's up. We're trying to get our listenership up.
Got some cayenne pepper in
yeah.
his eye.
Oh, it
just to-
burns my eye so bad. Oh, it's so sad.
With cats, they're just miniature predators,
Yeah.
right? They are
I don't trust them for
sociopaths.
nothing.
It's like Jeffrey Dahmer in a manageable weight.
With claws.
With claws, right?
Manageable weight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know
mean,
if there ever was a manageable weight. Jeffrey Dahmer.
You'll get some dogs that'll attack things, but a lot of dogs they just don't know what to do with them. They'll run up, they'll chase it, and then they'll look at it, and then they'll just stop. And it's like, all right, well, cool.
But for me,
Well,
I feel like
cats,
no,
they
sorry.
slice, they cut, they chew, they pull, they grab.
play.
They torture.
Their play is torture.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Dogs, they'll attack out of the animal instinct, right? They
Some
are
won't.
hunters and killers. Some of
Some are
them,
just
it's
dumb.
been
They
bred
just run
out
up
of
and-
them.
All animals have that potential.
Absolutely. So do we.
But with a cat,
yes.
like when you watch them, you were discussing it earlier. When
I've
you
watched
can,
Elmer fuck up a mouse.
or you just watch them get that look in their eye as they're stalking something. And then if you reverse the roles there and imagine yourself the size of that mouse or the cat the size of a mountain lion, it really makes you realize like how vulnerable we are to these animals.
You know that makes me think of. Did you ever see the movie The Reverend?
Yeah.
That bear attack scene.
That was brutal.
That was brutal, dude. But that's what like a mountain lion could do to you.
Mountain
Maybe not
lion
you,
would,
but
yeah, really fuck you up.
Yeah.
They've got like a little thumb thing, and they'll just gut you. Have you guys seen cats play with their prey?
Yeah.
Like keep a bird or a mouse alive
Yeah,
intentionally.
I was just
to fuck
staring
with
at
them.
I was just staring at Elmer over here because he was giving me that stink eye himself. 'Cause I never know if he's like saying, "Hey man, let me out," or "Hey, what's up?" or "Hey, dude, I would love to cut your face apart right now
Yeah,
and
he's saying
chew
the
on your
latter.
eyeballs."
Yeah, he's like, if I were fucking 40 pounds bigger, I would fuck you up. Keep talking your shit in your microphone, man.
That's exactly what he makes me feel like, dude.
Just sitting in the corner writing this down.
Making mental notes, dude. That's exactly what his eyes look like. He was when Rick was sitting there talking, dude. He was over giving him the stink eye, dude. It's like he was waiting for you to say something messed up, dude. He's gonna get you before we leave.
Yeah, I got to watch my back now.
You gotta watch your shins, dude. He's gonna go for your calves on your way out.
Nah, he's a straight killer. He'll go right for the throat.
Yeah, he leaves little things for me to find all the time in the photo bay.
Like poops or
Just little remains
Carcasses?
of creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah, so that's what's
Little
messed
field
up. So,
mice.
so you go for the dog thing, and if the dog kills something or is going to kill, if it's a type of dog that knows how to hunt something, grab something, or otherwise get it and shake it, and maul it.
In
to
other
death.
words, if it's a dog.
Yeah. So if it gets a maul, it'll go after it, maul it, shake it. Usually it's dead by that time. It'll maul the hell out of it so heavily that it doesn't make it through that. Elmer will get little mice, and I'm surprised you didn't mention already. And so for those that don't know, what a photo bay is imagine like 3 walls, and it's big, like 20 feet tall, and I don't know, 30 feet wide or whatever. And they're all painted. It's all painted white, and it comes together, and the corner is rounded. It's not like a sharp corner. And the idea is that when you shoot photos in front of it, it looks like an infinity white white wall in the back, right? Elmer has discovered, being the cat that he is, that he can bring in a mouse from outside and walk it over in his mouth, still alive, because he hasn't had his fun yet, to the corner part of that infinity wall. And he will trap it in that corner area and play with it, slice at it, swipe it, chew it, bite it real quick, and then throw it back down. Nothing to kill it. He'll just play with it, trapped in the corner. That's his entertainment. I've never seen a dog do anything like that before, because that's just evil.
Well, that's definitely a hunter. So their cats are survivors.
Hunting is catching and mauling and leaving it.
Well,
that
he's
is
hunting
torturing.
it to getting it. Yeah. Well,
he's already got it. He carried it in from outside.
But he's goading it into trying to escape so that he can continue hunting.
He doesn't want to eat it. He just wants to fuck with it.
I don't think that cat makes the connection that that's really a living being. It's a thing that's moving around and he's chasing it.
Probably
and he just keeps playing with it, and then it stops. And he's like, "Well, what happened to the toy?"
Yeah, no.
And then he starts sniffing it, and then nature kicks in, and he eats it.
Yeah,
for whatever reason. I
agree with that. I don't think that's really an evil or good or bad.
Yeah.
I just use the term because it's freaking evil to me. It's like, what would he do with me if he could?
I disagree. He knows fully well that that's a live being and that he is fucking torturing it to be an asshole. But on your original comment, though, you had said he leaves gifts for you around the place. And
we're not talking turds. We're talking like a skull from a mouse or something.
A bird
something
carcass.
He caught.
Yeah. From what I've been told, that the cats will do this as a gift to you.
Yep.
That is, they recognize
they're
that
proud of it,
yeah.
and you're the one that they associate with, so they're sharing it.
They're taking care of you. Yeah, and I think that's supposed to be like a very special thing that a cat will do. Most cats don't do that for everybody. It's definitely...
Yeah, and it's part of the connection, too, and that's why I said, before about reading animals and being around them for a long time and understanding. I'm not saying I'm a pet expert anyway, but I've learned a lot of weird, interesting things from having pets and stuff, And it's the communication and, like, for me, the relationship that you can have. Elmer's cool as hell, man. He's probably the coolest cat I've ever owned. Not that I've owned any of these, but been around. And I've been around at least a dozen cats that I've kind of seen from, like, kitten to death. Mm-hmm. And he's top of the chain, man. That dude he's the best one.
I had a cat that was pretty damn cool. Black cat with black stripes, 2 different tones of black if you caught him in the right lighting.
Yeah.
He was tabby pattern, so striped, but you could only see it if he was in like direct sunlight at the right angle.
Yeah.
I had this cat trained to. He would follow me if I called his name, he'd come right up. If he jumped on the counter, I'd tell him to get down. He'd jump off.
They're smart, man.
Oh yeah, no, he'd shake. He totally knew what was up.
Yeah,
that's cool. I've never seen anybody train a cat.
Yeah, Elmer's. He responds to things, and because I've been around him for a long time, and he's only 5. When he was young, I started using like a whistle tone that he identifies with me. That I can whistle. He knows that I'm around. Whatever. Little things to communicate with him, and you learn how they respond to certain things too. I remember one time when he was here and there was other renters here. They're like, I can never get the cat to come to me, and I was like, shake some food. Oh, I never thought of that. I'm like, you're definitely not an animal person, are you? But I think that those
all
learned
bribery,
right? It is. You're trying to bribe them because they don't need you. You're bribing them for their attention. They're just like, what? All right, I'll go ahead and take some more treats.
And that is the fundamental difference between a cat and a dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I like that about cats. I like that they're just like, they got this F you attitude. I can survive without you. I dig that. That's an independent kind of thing. And dogs, especially all the dogs I've had, like, man, if I can't leave them in the house more than 10 hours.
Yeah.
Or I can't do this, or for me, I'm not a big dog fan because of like having to schedule more of your time around them. I don't know.
They're totally like kids.
They totally are, and I don't have a schedule that works at the same time every day.
Yep.
So it's rough for me. So I think that's one of the things when Glenn was talking about before about placement of an animals, or somebody said it about what fits or what doesn't. And Rick, when you said I wanted a dog, but I knew it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's awesome to hear somebody say that, because that's the reality that we should be taking, and dealing with animals. And a lot of people don't, I guess, is my...
For sure. They just go get it and then think it's...
I want a puppy.
Yeah, just to obtain it. And that's the whole longevity of it there. Hey, really quick, guys, sorry if you can hear the... it's not static in the background you're hearing. It's actually pouring rain outside and in our We're in, for those that don't know, we record in a warehouse with a nice metal tin roof. So it's kind of noisy out there, and unfortunately, there's not much we can do about that. So hopefully, it's not too distracting. But just wanted to clarify, it's not something wrong with the.
Do not adjust your television.
Yeah, we are controlling. We're not controlling the static. Yeah. So okay, Thomas had already alluded to one of the other things I wanted to discuss here, and that was he felt that some. And maybe you have to reiterate this. What was your problem with owning snakes?
There are animals like birds.
That's what I was going for.
For me, they fall in the same category because I wouldn't want to. I've been around them, both of these, and I'm not really a fan of having that as a pet, or the way that you have to interact or deal with it. It's odd for me. I like cats and dogs, but for me, I always like a bird. I feel like why own a bird?
Trying to stick to the mammals, huh?
I think kind of. I mean, I think whatever the animal does that is natural to him, like Elmer, he does whatever the fuck he wants. Mm-hmm. He lives here with me in the shop, and he still does whatever the fuck he wants. That's what I like. A snake, I feel like, should be able to run around and go through holes and get in the water, and a bird the same way. A bird should be able to fly.
Snakes don't have legs.
What's that?
Snakes don't have legs. They can't run. And birds, it's sad because you trap them in this cage and they can't fly. It's like that'd be like putting a human in a closet for life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing. Go ahead.
I'm with you on the birds, but the snakes, they're fun. I mean, so I used to keep ball pythons. And one of the interesting things about I can talk, I promise. Ball pythons is that they have a variety of color morphs. And when you get into breeding and manipulating these gene sets to develop different color patterns, it's fascinating.
So are you saying they change their colors like in different stages of their life when they molt?
No.
They change, or
Let's talk about breeding them.
Okay.
Crossbreeding them.
Yes.
So kind of like a genetics test.
Yep.
Okay.
So
It's like breeding chickens or something, dude.
But
It's
how do you
like
know you're not breeding like anaconda?
a super snake, dude?
The most venomous snake ever found was in Glenn's closet.
nice.
He bred an anaconda.
So there are different color patterns that appear naturally in different ball python variety, and mixing and matching these different color patterns develop different patterns along themselves. They're recessive and dominant traits that.
Yeah.
And a constrictor is a constrictor. It's not going to suddenly turn venomous.
No, I mean I know, but for me like that. So what you liked about owning the snakes was the breeding and the things that you could do with them as a species, I guess.
Right.
Okay.
Was there anything about their personality that attracted you to them or entertained you?
I mean, it was fun feeding them and watching things die.
I've had friends that kept like Nile monitors and predator type snakes, and that was their thing.
Feeding them mice and rats, and mice when they're small and rats when they full size.
I think it's kind of crazy. When I lived in L.A., I got invited to these. There was a couple people who owned animals for something. I don't know if it was like a circus thing or whatever, but the one of them was this ginormous snake, and they fed it a rabbit.
Oh, damn.
And I was like, I kind of wanted to see it, but after I saw it, I was like, I don't think I want to see that again.
Yeah, they can be brutal. They squeeze the shit out of them, and
the snake was a lot bigger than I thought it would be. Seeing it, I was like, I was like, okay, this is, it made me uncomfortable to be in the room. I was just like, it's not something I'm, a dog or cat, and that's the thing too with animals too. Like you were talking about, Ben, you said you don't trust cats. I've never trusted dogs. And when I was younger, I had several experiences where I thought a dog was cool and turned out he wasn't.
I did too.
And I was just like, yeah, but
I just had cats too many times. You go to try and pet one, and you get swiped at. You get slashed.
Well, you got to understand the breed, though. A cat is like any other being. You don't just walk up and be like, "Hey, what's going on, man? I've never met you. Don't touch me."
I can understand.
And they'll
that
be
too.
like, "Hey, dude, personal space. It's all about my personal space today. Let's talk about personal space."
Yeah, but almost like on an hourly basis, because I mean, sometimes they'll come up and rub on you or whatever, and it's like
yeah,
pet
but they're
me with
trying
your eyes.
Well, they're trying to come up and make a friend with you. I think most cats are very good at unless they're afraid of you, they'll try to become friends with you or check you out and come because they're adventurous and they're daring.
They're quizzical.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like
curiosity killed the cat.
I totally understand what you're talking about, though, because I've been a big fan of birds my whole life, and knowing how to approach a bird and reading what Its body language is telling you whether or not you
Cats
can pet
are
it.
big of time on that.
Yeah, so it's exactly like that. I mean, you don't just stick your hand on top of the head of a bird. I mean,
Right.
you get snapped by that beak and you're in some serious pain. And I've seen people get their fingers stuck in there by huge macaws and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, it's no good for you.
My favorite was I used to keep chickens. I've had a lot of animals.
Chickens.
I had a chicken peck me in the eye.
Oh my!
Like literally take like a piece out of the white of my eye. Oh, that was rough.
Wow.
That was not a fun experience.
You got a little cock in the eye.
Yeah.
There
Thank
it
you.
is.
That's
There
the
it
first
is.
time someone actually made that. Thank you.
That's it. Leave it to Rick.
Nice. What's a pecker look like up close?
Well played, you two. Man, all we had to do was introduce the chickens, and we got the cock jokes now. Anybody else got any dick jokes? Come on.
Was it big
We
and
all
black?
do.
Yeah. Oh no, that's too much, dude.
Man.
That's too
Far?
much.
All right.
Too
moving
far. Too far. Let's go back to
Right before he lost his sight, it was just white.
Jeez. The other reason I brought up birds in the first place, though, was they bring an interesting component to animal ownership, and that angle or that component is that it opens the door for the possibility of owning an animal that will outlive you, which is a commitment that you actually sometimes cannot actually make.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, man, if you are 40 years old, 50 years old, and you decide to go out and get a cockatoo, not a cockatiel, a cockatoo, that's got, a 30 to 50 year lifespan or whatever, it's more than likely going to outlive you, especially if you take care of it. Why are you owning an animal or domesticated an animal that you cannot guarantee that you can take care of for the next 30 years, 40
Well,
years?
I mean, you have lots of elderly people who have dogs that are clearly going to outlive them.
Okay,
You
true.
know, I think it happens a lot. And
Yeah,
I don't
but I
think it's
mean-
necessarily of a kind of an animal.
The other thing, too, is
Just
that
make sure somebody else can come by your house and check on you once a week so that they don't starve to death when you keel over.
yeah, and so that's
the
the thing,
cats
too.
start eating you.
Usually, when you have a cat or a dog, you can generally find a place to pass it on to for long enough that okay, you have a dog for 10 years, and most of them only live 15 most. So you die at 10 years when it's 10 years old. You pass it to somebody else who stays with them for 4 or 5, 6 years or whatever, and you're done. You get an African gray or a scarlet macaw or something like that, and you're like, hey, this guy's only 30 years old. He's going to live for another 40 years. Can you take care of him for the next 40 years? This is like a multiple human lifetime companion.
Well, I think that falls back to me in that category of like maybe there are certain animals we shouldn't own in general.
That's one of the reasons I never would own
You're
one
not-
because of
yeah.
that. I'm not willing to. I don't even like that people do what's the word I'm looking for, in cage or whatever, own birds that live that long, because I mean,
Right.
that's just too long for any human, in my opinion, to make a commitment. People can't stay married for 20 years, let alone keep the bird for 60.
I feel like this touches on a broader subject of the responsibility of pet owners
Yeah,
and taking responsibility for the animal that you are
and
housing.
understanding what all those responsibilities are.
One of my big issues, I guess, something that I've seen a lot of, that I'm pretty pro nature. I love going on hikes and bird watching and checking out the lizards and catching snakes and tripping around outside. And people that dump their pets, cats especially, they are putting a cat that is still able to breed, that does not have a natural predator. It is not an animal that is indigenous to this continent. It doesn't have any checks or balances. And it will tear through birds, lizards, all sorts of wildlife unchecked. It's a frustrating situation that we are dealing with, especially in California.
You're talking about like when they just abandon them out into the wild, right?
Oh, yeah.
Straight up pet abandonment. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
terrible. It's someone had mentioned it earlier. Someone wants a puppy, so they just go get a puppy, and then the puppy grows up, or kitten for this example, and then it's not a toy anymore, so they just discard it.
It's not cute.
Yeah, they throw it in the forest. It's kind of fucked up. And some of
Yeah.
these animals too, they don't really know how to take care of themselves very well, especially in that environment.
Some end up as food for other animals that do know how to hunt out
Yeah.
there and are wild or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's messed up. It definitely happens a lot. The other thing I see too that kind of pisses me off when I see it, as a matter of fact, I just saw it last night outside of a Walmart, of course. I try to avoid Walmarts at all costs, but anyway, I happened to be walking out of one yesterday, and you see these people who will have a litter of puppies or something, and they'll just park themselves. They look like they're homeless. They just park themselves in front of a damn Walmart or something with a box full of little puppies, and then trying to sell them off, slang them off for $100 a pop, or whatever, and just that kind of
Whatever happened to the days with the burlap sack?
well, you just hand here, have a puppy. That's your coming.
No,
think
yeah,
he's
you
talking about
put the
different-
puppies in the burlap sack and you drop it in the water.
Oh, that's brutal, man. That's brutal. I don't know, but I'm sure people have done it. They do it with babies. So in some countries. So I mean, oh man, that's.
Yeah.
Again, that's why the SPCA promotes so much spay and neuter your pets. I mean, that's why it's like, yes, do this. Get these animals fixed if you're going to own them. And not just for yourself. Do it for the rest of us if that thing ever gets out and it starts messing around with everything else. And it just do it.
Yeah, I've done that with several animals because, like, different places I've lived, and there's been, if there's a litter or something, or where I was at or something, I'm not going to sit there and watch them die, but I would usually try to find them homes or take them to vets and have them neutered and just bring them back into the neighborhood. I've several times have had animals like cats on properties I was on. I, befriend them, take them to the vet, have them spay or neutered, and say, hey, you want to live here? Usually they actually keep a lot of the other animals away, especially if it's a male, like a male cat. Now that's his territory. And so it actually helps control things a lot. But yeah, spaying and neutered is huge. But, people are just weird with their pets in general. And I don't know, the responsibility thing can go in 100 directions. Some people just should not have animals.
Absolutely. Going back to, Thomas already touched on it a little bit, why owning certain animals that can't play, well, not owning, but having around certain animals that you don't necessarily play with. But I wanted to go a little odder with some of the other ones that people keep as pets. And that I don't understand why people own animals that they can't play with or can't love or can't cuddle with or can't even really pet in any sense. And some reptiles fall into this category. People keep spiders, like tarantulas and stuff like that.
You could pet tarantulas.
You can, but then they itch you have to wash your hand with the Dawn and go the certain way so you get all the little quills out. Or
cool, man. They
how about scorpions?
hands.
How about scorpions?
Remove the stinger and they're good to go.
Oh man, they'll pinch you too. You got to tear their pinchers off.
You don't have to tear their pinchers off. Just don't get pinched.
Tough love.
Put little
right
rubber
there.
bands around them.
Or just
Like a
hang them from your
lobster?
nipple.
Like lobster.
Some people are into that. Knew a dude that would catch crawdads and hang them from.
Jeez,
This guy's got scorpions hanging from his nipples. with a
I hope
cock
you
in
only
the eye.
went fishing with him once.
Can you? You were alone on a boat with this guy?
No.
Can you
was
actually
clamping stuff to his
remove the stinger of a scorpion?
Yeah.
And without killing it?
Yes.
God, that I did not know. That's still weird. How about things like llamas? Or, again, emus? We didn't answer that question. Why do people own these things?
Well, I think a llama, don't they, or is it llamas or alpacas? But they create
The
they
hair for
produce
the
a
alpacas.
wool.
Yeah, I don't think llamas do, though. I mean, not that I know of. Alpacas, yes.
Right.
That's a really high-end fur.
What is it? Oh, it is?
Alpaca,
Okay. Yeah, I
yeah.
know nothing about them at all.
I think it looks like a llama.
They
Some sort
look
of
very similar
They look
to
like
me.
some sort of camel
Yeah.
kind of thing, but light-colored. And, I
Yeah,
don't
I know what they look like.
But yeah,
They're really good at spitting.
Yeah, the llamas, they spit, dude. That's nasty.
yeah. So I don't understand what the purpose is for that. But some people are they like keeping big animals for whatever reason.
I don't understand.
I don't
this
know. I think it
mentality.
goes back to the breeding thing. Maybe there's money in breeding them or
Well, yes,
having the
but
option
they don't
to
breed
have-
them. That's what I'm saying. They just have them on, and that's why I had.
Well,
a
they got
re-
older and they just kept them.
Well, they
Things
also
too, I
keep a
guess.
field maintained. If you have a large swath of
Now
property
that's
that's
good
open.
for goats. That's what I know. Goats are really cool
goats
for that.
will eat it down to bare earth.
Oh.
And so
Yeah.
if you're trying to keep a little bit of ground cover, something
can't
like a
have-
llama would
Right.
work a lot better.
Really?
But goats are really good companions for horses. So if you have a horse that isn't happy, you bring a goat into it. It's less maintenance than another horse, but the goats and horses get along very well.
That's
Wow.
crazy. So okay, so
So
this kind
maybe-
of goes back to what I was talking about in the beginning. Is that maybe people who own these things, these animals, is because they grew up with it, and that's what they think is normal. So that's literally their reasoning, whether or not they consciously or unconsciously know it. That really is the reason that they own these animals that they don't do anything with. And I think that's weird, personally. But
Yeah.
okay,
I don't know. Animals
I
you
didn't grow up
can't-
like that, so.
Yeah, animals you can't enjoy. I don't know.
It's just, what the heck are you? You just made money. You just
But I
spent,
mean,
like,
I've
spending money on.
I've also had animals too that you couldn't necessarily pet or hold that were awesome. Like I've had ferrets.
You can't pet ferrets.
Yeah, you
thought you could hold
can.
those.
You can. Some
thought
of
they
them
were
are pretty
aggressive.
cool, but
Oh.
it's most of the ones I've had two.
Because they're like feral.
Yeah, I mean, the one of them was a little bit more, friendly to you, but the other one you just didn't really.
What the hell do you do with it?
Well, the ferret that we had it wasn't aggressive or anything. It was a fun little thing, and we had an apartment, and we used to have parties there all the time. And so girls would come over, and the ferret would come out, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, a ferret!" And they'd go bring their other girlfriends, and so you'd fill an apartment full of girls because you have a ferret.
As a chick magnet.
It was a chick magnet, and then the ferrets would the girls would like leave their purses and stuff, and she would come around. Her name was Mary.
Mary the ferret?
Mary the ferret. And she'd come around and she'd like get into their purses and they'd be like take stuff out and they'd be like, oh my god, and they'd just watch this ferret and let them just rip through their purse and tear stuff around. They're entertaining. We'd just be like, wow.
So you gotta train that thing to pick up cash and.
We tried to, yeah.
Dude.
But if you left like
jewelry.
the problem is if you left like a bag of potatoes open, it would go in and pull out every single potato.
One at a time.
Distribute it all over the room, yeah.
I knew somebody who had a chinchilla once, and that thing at least you could pet, and it was, I don't know if you know, but chinchillas are a type of, they used to be slaughtered for their fur. They are stupid soft. If you've ever felt mink, I think chinchilla's even softer.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's
very fine.
insane, dude. It's like you would make the coolest pair of underwear ever. I felt bad, but at the same time, I was very thankful that I got to hang out with one.
Have chinchilla underwear?
No, I never had the chinchilla underwear. I just got to pet the guy, dude. He was really, really cool. But you bring up an interesting point. That is something I want to talk about because that
underwear.
No. Yes. No. That is something I did want to bring up too, as far as owning animals is. Dude, there are so many guys that own animals just to pick up girls. I mean,
dogs especially.
That
man.
animal, they don't even own that animal for any other reason. They just take care of it, make sure it's all pretty and everything, and they just own it.
Anytime you see a guy with a really well-maintained husky,
Yeah, that's it. Dude, huskies seriously are the magnet.
Be on alert, girls.
Yeah, that's right. You are succumbing, and that is the plan. Yeah, it's funny. You see it all downtown all the time. I mean, you see that guy out there chilling with the freaking husky. It's always a husky. Everybody has huskies.
Right.
And what's ridiculous is that's the worst animal to own when you live downtown.
Well, in California where the temperature gets so freaking hot, man, those things are Arctic animals. They're should not be where it gets above 75 in the winter or in the summer.
Not only that, and they are extremely. They need to be exercised and run. They want to run. They're powerhouses, man.
Yeah.
And you're gonna stick this poor husky in your apartment. No,
that's cruel.
And then you don't have any open space to let it go run. I mean, yeah,
it destroys your house and destroys your yard because it doesn't have a way to burn off the energy unless you're out there running it 2 times a day.
Yep. And with a good amount of space too, not just
Right.
you jogging down the street. I mean, he needs to run. Yeah. But anyway, that's a
Size appropriate here. Size appropriate. It's like having a Great Dane in a studio apartment.
now we can start seeing why small dogs are so popular and cats.
Right? I think it's because you can put them in your purse.
Are there?
They appeal to the little bitty dog.
That's kind of interesting. Like pretty much all cats are like the same size. Are there miniature?
No, there's some variety.
There is. I mean, well, yeah, there's some variety, but I mean, you don't ever see a cat the size of a German Shepherd.
Right, or a toy cat. That's
Are there toy
super
cats?
duper
That's true.
small.
Well, there's an
I
ocelot.
had
Have you ever seen
a-
an ocelot?
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, is that you're going to bring up going?
Well, go for it.
Oh no! Well, an ocelot is kind of like it's not. I was thinking it was an individual cat, like a Bengal or some other. You know what I mean?
It's a medium-sized.
Medium. Bengal's kind of a medium-sized cat, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's that. So it's like a cross between that and a domestic cat. A buddy of mine had one, and it did not meow.
No.
It growls.
What?
When it likes you, it's like.
That's
When
It's like
likes you?
aggressive, yeah.
creep.
They don't purr.
Yeah. And the size definitely throws you off because you're like,
That's a
yeah,
big.
that's a cat.
Lynx, bobcat.
Yeah. I was following a couple of people on Facebook. I'm sorry, YouTube. I don't know why it was so fascinating to me, but there was a couple of guys I found on YouTube who owned foxes.
Foxes are pretty cool.
They are
would be cool.
really cool, really cool. But
They make some annoying sounds though.
yes, big time. and you could totally tell, even the ones that were pretty close to their foxes, to their pets. You could tell that thing was just all right. We're cool right now, but it's the first chance I get, I'm ripping your throat apart. I mean, you could tell that thing was just on edge to the point where it was not that it was annoyed, but it was just. It knew what it was capable of, and it reacted accordingly.
There was actually some domestication projects going on with foxes, and after some observation, I think
I read about this. They're trying to breed them
it
into.
was like after 4 or 5 generations, they start developing dog-like patterns.
They're cat
Spots.
Oh, really?
like
visual,
yeah,
physical.
visual
My
effects.
goodness.
Like they start taking on more dog-like characteristics, like the difference between dogs and wolves.
Bizarre.
If they're bred for temperament.
They are
They're-
totally cat dogs, though. Those things move like cats, but kind of act like dogs.
They're prancy.
yeah. They're I think
Light
they're
on their
awesome.
toes.
Yeah.
Oh, they hop, dude. It's really crazy. That's what one of the guys would do. Is he would I can't remember the fox's name now. It actually died, and it was pretty sad when he released a video, it's a tribute video. He had I don't know how, it was a million subscribers or something like that for this, and all this was this guy and his fox. That's all he would do. He'd make he would make videos in his backyard in this really big size cage that he made so that the fox couldn't get out, and it was connected to his home, and he would just make videos hanging out with his fox. And one of the things that he would like to do, he would kind of scrunch down, like he was kind of hunched over with his knees bent down on the floor, and the fox would jump up on his back and would just like to jump on his back and just stand up there.
So what did the fox say?
What did the fox say? I don't know what he said, Glenn. You got nothing?
I can't remember what that was. Do you guys remember the grizzly man, Timothy?
Oh, I
something
remember
or
that,
other?
yeah.
So when he had first gone out to Alaska, he was following a pack of foxes, and they had.
This is the one that the bear got him, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember this.
The foxes had accepted him into their
Yes.
pack, and there were videos of him, I believe, on Discovery
cool.
Channel or
I saw
something.
him. So cool.
They're running around, climbing on him. He had names for all of the different ones. He knew who they were. He watched them. He'd come back every year, and he'd watch them grow and reproduce and stuff like that. And then obviously we all know how that story ended. But yeah, the fox thing.
Yeah, that was
cool
crazy
pet.
to see how they totally liked hanging out with him. He was definitely one of the pack. It was nuts, dude. To see that, I mean, you've seen, I don't know, maybe you haven't, but a lot of people have seen documentaries or whatever with people who go out to the rainforest and live with, chimpanzees or monkeys or stuff like that, and get in, or gorillas, and kind of get into the pack with that, which is generally unprecedented research and the ability to do that. But I mean, with foxes, that's crazy. That one blew me away when I saw that. I was like, that is really, really cool. So, last topic I wanted to cover here, I think is kind of cool. And when I started doing a little more research into it, I was really surprised with some of the stuff that I found. And this has to do with service animals. And in particular, the area of this that I thought was kind of cool, because it seems to be a newer age kind of growing industry, if you will, is PTSD, companion pets, emotional support animals. Well, there are various names for these trained animals that people use, and for different reasons. I just thought it was kind of cool. Some of the things that they're required to do during their training. Before I go down that path, though, I thought it was kind of interesting to note that the ADA only recognizes dogs as service animals. I didn't realize that. I thought that, and I think that that's actually for actual service animals, like seeing or hearing dogs, stuff like that. I think when you go into the area of emotional support animals, I don't think the ADA even really regulates that in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that they have a say at this point anyway on what constitutes a emotional support animal like they do with service animals.
So if I go and catch a mountain lion and somehow tame this thing, can I take it around as an emotional support animal into a hospital?
They might even let you bring it on a plane.
Damn. So
Go for it.
go try it. Yeah. First, let me see you tame it, and then we can we'll talk about the rest.
Ricky Bobby did it.
Wow, that's insane.
Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
Ricky Ticky Tabby.
Baby Jesus.
Oh, with sweet baby Jesus.
I prefer to pray to the baby Jesus.
Wow. So some of the skills that these dogs these PTSD dogs are required to have, which I didn't even. Wow, that's pretty impressive. I would like to see this training in action. That's kind of cool. I'll just go down some bullet lists here. Alleviate anxiety, distress, and provide psycho-emotional grounding by nudging, pawing, and leaning. They first have to identify anxiety and stress and then do this. Assist a person in waking from night terrors and nightmares. That's crazy. Distract a person from an event or specific maladaptive behavior by nudging, pawing, and licking. Bring medication to a person on command or when alerted to do so by a timer or alarm. Stand in front of a circle, stand in front of or circle an individual in crowded areas in order to create personal space in a non-aggressive manner. That's nuts, dude. That's that sounds like something from a video game. It's like you have just your support pet circling you and protecting you. I mean, that's crazy. Lead an individual safely to a building exit when experiencing an anxiety or panic attack. Get help by alerting another person or activate an emergency button or alert system. They even have assistive animals for people who are probably older than children with autism.
Really?
I did not know this. I don't really know. I don't know. I couldn't figure out. I didn't look deep enough into it. What a service animal can do for somebody with autism.
Well, there's probably a large level of alleviating anxiety, right?
Okay.
And people that are autistic don't really relate to other humans, but maybe they could make a connection with the dog.
And chill out with the dog when they start to
Yeah.
feel unsettled or not good.
I'm assuming. I don't know.
Yeah, okay, I didn't think about that. Yeah, I don't really know much about autism, to be honest. So I didn't really. I was like, how would this apply? I don't get it. But anyway, I saw it and I was like, hey, I didn't know that. I didn't know. Yeah, it was anything other than just hearing and seeing eye dogs or whatever, or basically the ones that the ADA recognizes. I didn't realize, and I knew about somewhat about the PTSD, and I knew that was a growing market. But I didn't realize that they trained them to do all that kind of stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear you say that because I have seen a video of a war veteran being interviewed on camera, and his emotions started to get to him, and his service dog climbed in his lap. It was like a golden retriever, I believe.
Yeah.
And started like nuzzling him, and the guy kind of hugged the dog, and you could kind of tell in his body language that he was tensing up, and the dog got in there, and he took a quick break, kind of chilled out with the dog for a second, and he was able to continue the interview. It was really interesting to watch that happen.
That is nuts, dude. I need that in my life.
Yeah.
I need a homie that
So
just
you need a dog.
Yeah, I need a homie that just comes up to me. Hey, what's up, dude? You all right? You chill? You good? All right, man. All right.
Taxes getting you down? Let's go for a walk.
Did you just get dumped again? Oh man, don't worry, I got you.
I'll never leave you.
As long as you keep feeding me.
And I won't tell anybody.
About the weird shit that you do. Just don't do it to me, all right?
Yeah. Or I'll poke holes in your condom, you fucker.
That's terrible. Were you going to say something, Thomas?
I don't remember now.
I'm sorry.
Service dogs poking hole in condoms. Where the hell did you pull that up from, Rick? What the
Is that part of a training, a different type of dog training?
Yeah, I think it was
Ex-girlfriend training?
divorce training, a breakup,
divorce, yeah, that's
assisted dog.
That's the ex-wife training there, trained the dog to go fuck you in the future there. With
The fuck you assisted dog.
Awesome. That's where we're heading out. Thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed that, and we'll see you next time. Show notes and other info can be found at our website, greatdistraction.com. The Great Distraction is listed in iTunes, and we greatly appreciate it when our listeners take the time to look us up and leave us a 5-star rating and review. That helps our show grow and motivates us to continue producing content. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do so using the email address, greatdistractionpodcast@gmail.com, or via our website. We're always interested in hearing any thoughts, comments, or questions from our listeners. Keeping up on the latest from us can be done in several different ways. You can add us to your favorite RSS feed tracker. The link is available on our website or in iTunes. Or you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Great Distraction, one word, no space. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for all the support.